Today's video is brought to you by the subscribe button and the notification bell. Don't forget to click both of them down below. Hey, what's up guys? Joker here, and I hope you're all doing well. Today we have got quite a few news stories to get through in the world of tech and PC gaming, including, but not limited to, a massive leak concerning AMD Zen 2, clock speeds, core counts, benchmarks, all of that good stuff courtesy of our good friend AdoredTV. Also, the Windows May 2019 update is releasing, and it is not without its issues, as you would probably come to expect. And Electronic Arts is looking to develop the first ever Hair as a Service platform. Yes, that's right. I said Hair as a Service. Did you get it? You will soon. Stay tuned. First up, we're going to start off talking about AMD Zen 2, which we are expected to see featured on May 27th at Computex, and then later on there'll be a tech day at E3 2019 where we'll get the full deets on AMD Zen 2, but thankfully, courtesy of AdoredTV, a friend of the channel, he put out a very lengthy video yesterday detailing some new leaks, and he was originally the first person to reveal X570 and all the details about that back in late 2018. I'll have a link to all of our sources as well as his video down in the description below, but the video is titled Zen 2 Building Up to Computex, which he posted just yesterday, that has all of this information. If you want to get everything in full detail from him, I strongly suggest that you go ahead and check it out. Let me go ahead and close my Skype now so we can continue on with the story. We're going to switch over to WCCF Tech though, because they've got some graphs up which kind of lays out the information that AdoredTV put into his video, which is a little easier for us to digest. So we'll go ahead and go over the information. Basically, some of the big highlights from this are that there's going to be a 12 core, which we already knew, going to be a 12 core, but that it would be able to boost to 5 gigahertz. Now, obviously, that's probably going to only be on 1 or 2 cores, but you would hope that manually overclocking, you'd be able to get it on all core somewhere close to that, somewhere north of 4.5 gigahertz, which would still be very, very impressive. Anything over 4.5 on 12 cores, I think, is going to be pretty darn stellar. But hey, if it could do 5 gigahertz, that's going to be even all the better. There was also a pair of 16-core Ryzen 3000 series that were leaked on this, and we also have a benchmark running on Cinebench R15. If we come down here to this graph, you could see that the 16-core Zen 2 running at 4.2 gigahertz, this is rumored, mind you, ended up pulling in a score of 4,278. And for a basis of comparison, something like the 1950X would only get around 3,055. A 2700X, which is just 8 cores, would get 1,828. So we're looking at more than double that. And in order to match it, you would need to have an i9 7960X running at 4.8 gigahertz overclocked on all cores just to get even close to it at 4,288. So that's within 10 points, which is pretty close. That's basically almost the same thing here. But bear in mind that this is a much cheaper part, which is, we don't know the exact price yet, but it's probably going to be like sub $600, like maybe $500, maybe $550 for the top end 16-core part. And if it can do that same score basically at 4.2 gigahertz out of the box versus the 4.8 gigahertz overclock of an Intel CPU, that is really darn impressive. Coming down here, you can see we've got a full table with all of the rumored specs so far on the Ryzen 3000 series lineup. At the top here, you can see we've got the 3850X, which would be a 16-core 32-thread. This would likely be clocked a little bit higher than the 3800X under it, but they'll both be 16 cores, 32 threads. And the top-end SKU is rumored right now at $499, while the one below that is $449. Now, we've also got these beastly 12 cores, particularly the 3700X, the one that's rumored to be running at 5 gigahertz boosted out of the box, coming in at $329. Can you imagine a 12-core Ryzen CPU with roughly 10% IPC gain with the shrink down to 7 nanometer for $329? So you're getting more cores than Intel on their 8-core 9900K, which sells for over $500, and clock speeds approaching 5 gigahertz, which is roughly what the 9900K can do. Now, of course, these are rumors, and it should always be taken with a grain of salt, but if this stuff holds up to be true, Intel better be ready for a fight, because AMD is coming out swinging if these numbers end up holding up, and we do not have that much further to go. It's going to be on May 27th. We are expected to get all the juicy details on the Ryzen 3000 series, as well as the Navi GPUs, but as we get closer and closer to the event, these leaks are only more likely to become not only more frequent, but also more accurate as it gets a little bit harder for them to kind of control that information the closer and closer you get to these big announcements and events like Computex. Next up, Windows 10 is rolling out their May 2019 update, and of course, with any Windows update, let alone these major updates that they like to roll out a few times a year, you should certainly be cautious about downloading this update. But what are they bringing in terms of features? Well, they are adding in a new light mode, which just kind of looks like the old light mode before they added in a dark mode, except it's a little bit bluer, I guess. I've really felt like they already had a light mode, but now they're adding in even a lighter mode, I suppose. So they're bringing in a light mode. Cool. I like the dark mode personally. It's great. I really love that they added in for File Explorer and things like that and extended the dark mode to that. It's really been good so far. It's one of my favorite features actually on Windows 10. They're also going to finally be separating Cortana from the search bar so that your web searches are not the same as searching for a file on your system, thankfully. This is something I've bypassed ages ago by disabling Cortana and also by using the Start as Back feature. And also probably one of the more interesting things is that they're introducing a health dashboard, which basically seems to kind of streamline bugs for Windows. It's like they know bugs are going to be so present that they need to have a health dashboard now, just so that you can keep track of all the different versions of Windows 10, which ones are buggy, which ones are slightly less buggy, and which ones are even buggier more. And you can kind of look between them, see which issues are being fixed and which haven't been fixed yet, or maybe will never be fixed. So they're really just kind of bringing this health dashboard so that you can kind of manage things a little bit better. And it kind of really just lends a whole lot more credence to, things I've said in previous videos where after they fire their entire testing team, now we are the testers, and now they're basically giving us a developer dashboard so that we have full access to all the buggy features. So that's pretty swell. I guess it's good, though, that they are giving us more control over when we update, although you can only delay the updates for so long, and eventually they will force you to update no matter what. You can't opt out of the updates forever. Eventually they are going to force you to update Windows 10 unless you start doing some registry tweaks and things like that. They will eventually force you to do that. And with this new update, which is 1903, if you go over to the Microsoft website, you can already see we've got a baker's dozen of issues. Actually, it's quite a few baker's dozens of issues and bugs that have already cropped up on the May 2019 update. So I cannot stress enough that it is not worth running out and updating to this right away. If you want to update, obviously you got to go to your settings and then search for updates and you'll be able to get it. But I would just wait, especially with any major updates like this one right here, just like we had the fall creator update and things like that. Those tend to be the even buggier ones, which can really brick an entire OS. So I would steer clear of version 1903 for now, probably at least for a few weeks or a month, before we know issues are resolved and before all the issues are actually even reported, especially if there's something gaming related to come about. I'm sure we'll hear about it sooner rather than later, and if we do, I will definitely update you guys in a video on any issues that I think might be of particular concern to gamers out there. Last up, but certainly not least, Electronic Arts has showcased a new hair rendering engine on the it's a hair rendering feature on the Frostbite engine, and yeah, it looks pretty darn impressive, kind of in the vein of something like TressFX, which we've seen before. It's basically looking to bring in more realistic hair, and in the videos you'll see that it shows dynamic changes of the hair melanin and smoothness parameters, which produces a natural color change and a dynamic change of an artificial coloring of the hair, as well as volume preservation. So yeah, just basically more realistic hair, but what they haven't revealed is that all the color changes that you're seeing are actually going to be microtransactions and hidden behind a paywall, probably in loot boxes. And as I said at the video, this is the beginning of hair as a service. That's right, Electronic Arts will monetize hair first. You heard it here first. I just said first a few times, now 3. Let's move on. So before we get out of here, I do have a slightly new feature that I kind of want to introduce into these news videos, maybe once a week, maybe every couple of weeks, or whenever I feel like doing it, really. I don't know what I'm going to call this yet. Right now, I'm just calling it Joker's Picks, where I'm going to just kind of pick a movie, TV show, or something like that, maybe a documentary, which is of particular interest to me, and maybe I just want to recommend to you guys. And the one that I want to recommend this week is something that I have been watching so far. There are 3 episodes into it. It is called Chernobyl. This is a kind of like it's not a docu-series, it's a mini-series but it is definitely based on real life and the Chernobyl disaster, which happened years ago back in 1986. It was a massive nuclear power plant in the Soviet Union, which had a massive accident, which the effects are still being felt today, and they'll be felt for decades beyond today as well. And it is just a really well-made miniseries over on HBO. I mean, they got a pretty good track record. Right now over on IMDb, this is actually sitting at a user score of 9.6 after 25,000 reviews. That's a very, very high score. So that should kind of give you an idea of just how good this series has been so far. So far, it's 3 episodes in. I'm not exactly sure how many episodes that there are going to be, but there's definitely at least a few more left. It's probably going to be like 6, 8, or 10 episodes if I were to, venture a guess on that. But definitely worth watching if you have an HBO subscription, or if you are ready to board a pirate ship across the 7 seas. I'm sure you could figure out a way to watch it one way or the other. So I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you as always for liking, commenting, subscribing, and ringing the notification bell. I'll see you tomorrow for another video. Sarah.